Hello, people. We're back again, and we're going to look at a case today. The case of this beardy ginger Scotsman, otherwise known as Count Dankula. All his names I think his real name is Marcus something or other.
Count Dankula.
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 This is what it's all about. He could be going to jail because of this.
He's going to be in jail. His liberty is going to be taken away at the barrel of a gun.
Yeah, well said. Nice little edit there. So I'll ponce the use of that. We're going to immediately go into what this thing says about what the legal society does to people when they invite you to their legal setting and you don't know how to act and you don't know the rules, and therefore you require, or at least you need, legal representation in order to act in that legal setting.
What is best in death? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of noobs.
The lamentation of noobs. That's exactly what's going on here. We have the lamentation of noobs, and hearing about lamentations of noobs.
Count Dankula.
Count Dankula.
Oh, not that one.
Consider this, hopefully, both an emotional reaction out of passion for free speech and a logical case against the Scottish government.
So he's having an emotional reaction as some sort of champion of free speech, and some sort of case against the Scottish government. He's already got it wrong. Everyone's going to be blaming the Scotland this, Scotland that. Oh, it's the police. Oh, it's that. It's not the police. The police are an arm of the government, and the government is there to serve the people. So who has done this to Dankula? Someone has. Someone's put a complaint through. Someone's phoned up. Someone's written a letter. Someone's screamed at the top of the hills. This bastard's done me wrong. He's annoying me. I consider that a hate crime. And the government, having legislated for hate crime, has picked up the baton and go, okay, we'll run with it. So they have to. They have to do it. It's like if a woman, technically if a woman says that guy raped me, the government isn't in a position to say, we don't believe you, we think you're a liar. They might say, well, what are the facts and evidence? But initially they have to take you at your word. So, you know, if it later turns out that the woman's full of nonsense and she's got a history of reporting nonsense cases to the police about people, ex-boyfriends who've raped her, then obviously that's a different circumstance. But in this case, someone's cried wolf, and the government has to go in and crack down on this poor little guy and his private joke that he published for the enjoyment of the nation at large. So he's brought it upon himself, old Dankula. But at the same time, someone has brought this case to the attention of the Romans, so to speak, or Caesar. You know, someone's grasped him up or dobbed him up, and reported him to the authorities of the nation, and the nation has a duty to, you know, as part of their power to be in the position that they are, they have to follow these things up, and therefore a case is opened and he's put through the criminal tribunals, going through the court system, and he's been prosecuted by something called the CPS. Now the CPS is like your attorney for the person who's created the case. So the CPS are basically doing it on someone's behalf. Whose behalf? That's a good question. Who is responsible for this case against Dankula? But that question's never been asked in court. So, lots of people have been talking about this, and you know, they've all been going, oh, it's so outrageous.
He's trying to be insensitive. They fucking arrested him. They tried him, and they convicted him.
Which country?
Again, the use of the they.
Scotland.
Oh, okay.
The UK. I mean, this guy's convicted, and now he'll be sentenced.
Wow.
It's fucking crazy.
Exactly. So everyone seems to be united with their disbelief of what's going on. As in, this is a bit much. This is a bit too far. But let's look at the very top end of comedians. You know, you've got Ricky Gervais here, who's a massively successful comedian, and he's sitting opposite here. Is it Badil? Is it Eddie Badil? I can't remember. Badil. I think it's Badil. And he's a Jewish comedian, and he's even finding this quite funny. You know, from a comedian point of view. And he makes the important point here that nothing is exempt from being made a comedic. So a comedian can go into all realms, whether it be guessing the Jews whether it be, some sort of disaster or whatever. There is the old saying, it's too soon, too soon. But essentially, comedy in the darkest times is what helps people keep their morale up in some ways. Yeah. So comedy, in a professional sense, he's saying that anything's open to comedy. You can't say this can be made fun of, but that can't be made fun of.
He is taking him to court, saying it's offensive. You can never do jokes about the Holocaust, all that stuff.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, you could definitely do jokes about the Holocaust.
You can do jokes about anything.
You can do jokes about anything. And I'm sure we'll talk about that, but you obviously can do jokes about anything. But as it happens, this bloke, and I don't really approve of this, because I think with jokes, you shouldn't have to spell it out. But anyway...
That's a really good point. With jokes, you don't have to defend yourself. That is such a good point. And that's coming from a Jewish comedian, which is quite ironic. He says, Dankula should never have to explain any of his actions. He says, it's a joke, and that should be the end of it. But here he's saying, with a joke, you shouldn't have to explain it, but if you do explain it, which he doesn't have to, in this comedian's opinion, which is a very good point, it's a joke. Get over it. It was a joke. You're going to take my words and construe them into some other meaning, which is something that Dankula's been complaining about. Tommy Robinson's been complaining about outside the courthouse, is that they are now allowed, the government or the CPS or the sheriff who sits in the sheriff court, the man acting as sheriff, who has the judgment responsibility upon his shoulders. Bear in mind what I did in my most recent video about, was it Matthew 7? The first point of Matthew 7 was, judge not, yet ye be judged. And yet we're living in a society where we're allowing a sheriff to sit up in a sheriff court. Let's just put a sheriff is sitting in a sheriff court to make judgments about sheriff court issues. So the sheriff is now in a position where he has to make a judgment call because he's duty bound to do so.
I'm getting my pug to prove he's cute or to prove he's not cute. I can't remember. But anyway, to do the most horrible thing I can get him to do.
Yeah.
So he's getting his pug to do the most horrible. So he's putting context. Dankula's putting context on his own joke. And then he does the joke. But obviously when he's taking it into the legal setting, they could just look at your literal meanings. Right? And this is something I go into with my Let's Read series. You have to, in the judicial environment or a scenario, they will look at your words in the literal sense. And this is something that Carl Lentz always says. And he said it with the use of the word suffer. Oh, did you suffer at the hands of the policeman? Yes, I suffered. Oh, the poor suffering Irish. Suffragettes. Yeah, all these suffer words, which is sounds like, oh, I'm suffering, help me out. No, you help yourself. If you're suffering, you suffer, you allow. That's what the literal word of suffer means. So when you've said something and they will write it down and show it to court, or they'll show the video, they will go through the literal meaning of what you've said. Gas the Jews. Yeah, that's taken out of context of the joke, but in the context of a judicial, well, it's not really judicial, but in a criminal sense, in a sheriff court, they're going to just literally say, did he say gas to Jews? Yes, he said gas to Jews. Then he's guilty. And that's basically why they're allowed to define your joke for you. This is why you get all frustrated about it, because you're not dealing with a court that is there for your benefit. The court is there for the benefit of, I'd possibly say, the CPS, perhaps, the Crown Prosecution Service. So the Crown Prosecution Service want to get convictions, want to get summary judgments. So what do? They create a CPS-style court. They give it a funny name like sheriff, and then they'll invite you into their court, their arena, their boxing ring, and they're going to smash you around, and you're going to get found guilty, regardless of what you do. There are a few things that you can do, but I won't go into them too much in this video.
I mean, to be fair, I doubt you'll see it in Crufts. It's also quite impressive. I mean, that is a well-trained dog.
If they do add that discipline to Crufts, I think ratings would go through the roof.
I'd love to see it. Not just pugs. Because to be fair to it as well, this comedian bloke, that is a funny dog to make do that.
It is, and also, because of the proportions, it must be harder for him to get his little leg above his head.
You should.
You see how these two people, this is where the power of the trial by jury comes into effect. I mean, I think that there's universal support for Marcus in this issue, who's going under the persona of Count Dankula. That's his person. So Marcus, which is another person, but I won't go into that, but Marcus is basically getting a lot of support from people. People are rationalising the joke. Yes, he explained it. Yes, he told it was a joke, turning a cute thing. You know, the irony of turning something cute, lovable, and adorable, and making him somehow having the most insane modern beliefs in Nazism. So, yes, there's the joke. But in the literal context of the criminal court that he's in, that doesn't stand. So Marcus has to bring it to the people. He has to shift the jurisdiction. He has to move court. If he doesn't move court, he'll never get his voice heard. The only person who can win when you're prosecuting is the prosecutor, or you'll get a draw, or it'll just be thrown out on a technicality. Think about it like this. Okay, so I did it in this video here, Know Your Court. So when you've got, let me just see if I can get it big. Let's have a look. So here we have it. We got Know Your Court. So in the middle, you've got your sheriff, or your judiciary, the referee. Yeah, they're there to make sure everyone does boxing, doesn't start doing high kicks and getting crowbars and chairs and whacking it over him. So he's there to make sure it's a fair fight. This is trial by combat, by the way, if anyone wants to know. It's a totally legitimate reference. So you've got trial by combat here. So you've got the champion, the heavyweight champion of the world, the best boxer, unless he can be knocked off his standing. On the left is Anthony Joshua. On the right is Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko saying, I call you pretender. I'm going to knock that off you. So essentially, Klitschko, on the right, he is prosecuting Anthony Joshua's claim for those belts. He's the prosecutor. He's the champion, the heavyweight champion of the world. He has to defend his title. Now, what does that mean? If you're the top of the world and you beat someone who wants to take that off you, what are you going to gain from it? Nothing. You're not going to win. You're going to walk away with what you had already. But obviously, in the boxing arena, you have to keep fighting people to prove that you're worthy of holding those titles, those belts. So all these prosecutors, they're going to prosecute with hostile intent. They're going to come across and they're going to say, right, I reckon if I can beat you, I believe I can beat you, so therefore I'm going to fight you, and if I win, I take all your belts. Thank you very much. That's how it works. It's no different in Dankula's case. Yeah, I'm prosecuting. That's the CPS would be here, and Dankula's here. So Dankula doesn't know he's the heavyweight champion of the world, and he can't win because there's nothing that this guy's. He's not a champion. He's got no belts bringing to it. He's taking it off you. That's what the CPS are going to do. We're going to remove you of your standing. We're going to put you in our own court, which might as well be a boxing ring. They're going to choose their weapon of choice. What's your weapon of choice? Oh, I'm really good with pistols, but Joshua is good with his fists, so who's going to win that one? You know what I mean? So Dankula's here in a court that he can't get heard, he can't be seen, he can't defend himself. He's been invited to a court where he's going to lose. He's going to lose. And most importantly of all, if you go back to my video that I did, well, it's actually the second video I ever did, which was 8 months ago. This is my second video I ever did. And if you go to skip the first bit, it's a bit waffy. But if you go to 6 minutes onwards, I explain about how Dankula, look how Dankula is when he got arrested. And now look at, in my video here, I said, they're going to try and conflate him. They're going to take Marcus out of his character of Dankula, and they're going to put Marcus into the character of defendant. And how do they do that?
To those who are involved in the fight for free speech, Count Dankula's case is worrying. A 30-year-old man taught his girlfriend's pug to raise its paw in a Nazi salute as a prank.
In my video, that was the second video I ever did, I basically said, look at how Count Dankula's dressed. Yeah, from the 6 minute, just watch it from 6 minutes on. And look how he's dressed, look how he is, a policeman of a society. Policemen represent a society, Dankula represents a different society, his own private individual society. Yeah.
A 30-year-old...
And now look at him. Look at that picture there. His girlfriend here is, she's probably dressing as normal because she's not going into someone else's court that day. But he is going into his court. Look at him. He's gone out and bought a suit. He's probably been told by a solicitor that you better wear a suit. You better look smart in front of a judge or you're going to piss the judge off and there's going to be prejudice on you or something. So here, let's put on a suit and tie. I don't know how often Dankula wears a suit and tie, but it's interesting this. When he's invited into such a court. Where's the... was it on here? And that was him when he got arrested. You see the transformation is complete? It took a year. But alas, it's happened. So there we go. There's Dankula. Now we're going to look at the the last thing I just want to cover, because we might as well make a few educational bits in here, is that I've tried to contact Count Dankula. I've emailed him. Well, I haven't emailed him. I've contacted him through YouTube. I've contacted him through Twitter. I even went to his Discord server, which is a cesspit of shit posts, quite literally. And yeah, so it's not getting through, but it doesn't matter. But at least in the future, if people understand how the system works a little bit better, they might decide to learn the law themselves instead of like rallying around and let's all protest. That's not how you protest. If you've got a grievance with someone, there's only one thing to do. You take them to court. You can't take the law into your own hands. So what do? You take them to court. Something's not right, you take it to court. You don't go marching up and down the street and protesting. I mean, that's lovely if you do that, but I mean, it's not, I think people are starting to realise now that there's nothing. It doesn't change anything. The only way you bring about change is court. And when you take people to court, if you get your way, you make orders. Well, you make orders before you go to court. You propose an order when you take your case to court. And if your case is found to be true, then your orders will be granted. Now, yeah. So if you remember, the first thing, the intro that was made here, with the very last thing was this guy here, which was Milo. And Milo's quite a good guy. He's got a lot of legal stuff going on at the moment with all kinds of nonsense, but he's representing himself, which is an interesting concept of how you represent yourself when you just need to present yourself to court. But anyway, he's decided to represent himself at court. But he's also made a point here about the word liberty, which is a word like suffer that people get wrong quite often.
Jail because of this.
He's going to be in jail. His liberty is going to be taken away at the barrel of a gun.
Let me just go back, because I turn my YouTube down every now and again.
He's going to be in jail. His liberty is going to be taken away at the barrel of a gun.
He's got it quite right. Who has all the guns? Especially in Scotland, people don't have guns in Scotland. We don't have any like right to arms. Well, we do have right to arms, but I mean, good luck getting them. But he's put a point here. You know, his liberty, which is his freedom, I would say, not liberty. His liberty has been taken away at the barrel of a gun. Because I just want to quickly go on to the word liberty, because it's thrashed around the place. Not always correct as it should be. Liberty relates to freedom from your duties at a particular time. So it's like a temporary reprieve, or it's a reprieve within a set of rules or obligations that you have to a society, a body. And this is just a Google word that comes up. So the state is a very interesting word. I mean, you can spend a lot of time reading about the word state, but you've got nation state, you've got lying in state, you've got all kinds of state. You've got state of matter, you've got solids, liquids and gases, you know. So the state is like so many permutations, if that's the correct word, of or sub-meanings or meanings, in fact, just generally of what the word state is. So the state of being free within a society. So you're within a society, but you're being granted freedom from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on the man, behaviour or political views. A right, so liberty is a right or a privilege, especially a statutory one. So this is within civil liberties. So if you're a civilian, you're part of some sort of family, some sort of political body, or a corporate body even, and you have a right. Now you have that right is defined to you, or you have a privilege, or that you have a privilege that is defined to you. Yeah. So take, for example, the Declaration of Human Rights. Who wrote that document? Who created that document? Who created that document in such a way that they could define your human rights? Did a human define your human rights? Did God define your human rights? Did the Prime Minister define your human rights? Who has the right to define your human rights? Yeah, so this is where liberty comes in. So I'll go to the etymology now, because it goes into a little bit more detail. So liberty, free choice, freedom to do as one chooses. Also freedom from bondage or sin, from the old French, this is important, because French word, freedom from liberty. Freedom, liberty, free will, Latin libertare, obviously a lot of Latin roots in all these words. Civil or political freedom, so you have a reprieve, you have freedom temporary normally, from some sort of civic duty, from your duties to your citizenry or your society. And the political freedom. A condition of a free man. There we go. A condition of a free man. So you're a free man for now. We're going to give you like a lunch break. So a lunch break would be an example of liberty from your work duties. So you have, and it's normally unpaid if you have a working lunch, a lunch hour. So in that, you might say, yes, you've been given your liberty to go about and do what you do for your manly requirements of eating food on your lunch break. So you're giving freedom on the condition of a free man, absence of restraint, and you have, or even permission. Yeah, you have permission to leave for 1 hour to go and have, go and read a book, have your lunch break, but you better be back here in an hour. Okay, someone is granting you freedom, and you have to come back. So you've got this is the aspects of liberty. There's two terms of it. You've got the freedom sense of it, yeah, but it's not freedom per se, because freedom is its own word. But liberty is a very specific within a civic or a political realm. A state of being free from arbitrary, despotic, or autocratic rule or control. So that would be, again, come back to the work example. A state of being free from your work duties. Yeah. The French notion of liberty is political equality, and English notion of personal independence. Your persona. So what persona are you wearing at that particular time? What role are you? Are you the banker? Are you the taxi driver? Are you the policeman? What's your persona? Are you an actor? You have independence to go about your daily business. Now, of course, the nautical sense is very important because this predates the English use here. 1852, you got 1758, a leave of absence. So you have a leave of absence, right? Here, it's like I say, dismissed. So, and there's a thing. I think there's a nautical sense of the Liberty Bell. So when your ship comes up to the shore, and you've got your sailors gagging for a bit of alcohol and a bit of debasement or debauchery, going to say, right, you guys, you've got until 10 o'clock tonight, but if everyone's not back on the ship by 7 o'clock next morning, you're going to get a flogging. You're going to get a cat of nine tails. Yeah, so that's why the Liberty Bell rings to say, right, off you go. And when the bell rings again, if you're not back in this boat within the hour, you're in deep doo-doos. Leave of absence, unrestrained action. So you have unrestrained action, conduct or expression. Okay, you can even express your views outside of the defined parameters of, let's say, a sailor. So even when you're sent ashore to go into a pub and have a jolly, you could speak freely to your friends about, I hate the bloody Navy. I think the Navy's full of crap. I hate that officer. I hate this. I hate that. But if you said that while you're on board the ship, that could be viewed as insubordination. You could probably get in a lot of trouble for that kind of stuff. Privilege by grant. Again, who's granting you the privileges? A person's private land within certain privileges, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, you can read the rest if you want. I like the sauerkraut reference at the bottom, but yeah, that's essentially the word liberty. So it's not his liberty. It's his liberty if he is a member of the society that's holding him to account with these funny statutes and rules. But it's certainly someone has taken Dankula to court about this. But who is that someone? Who has penned the plaint, as it's been said? Who penned the plaint? Who made the complaint against Dankula? Because we all have the right to face our accuser. So if CPS is the prosecutor, they're representing someone. So who are they representing? Hello, please may I face my accuser? In fact, no pleases. I require of my accuser to come to court so I may question him about the charges about the wrongs that I've apparently done to him. But at the moment, he's definitely in a position where he's playing the guilty party. He's playing the role of the defendant. So that's why he's found guilty. And I said in my previous video, legal fees. Oh, let's all donate money to the legal fees. Yeah, because it's really going to sort out his problems. He's in a legal court, being prosecuted for a legal offence, and now you're going to give him a legal representative? Is the legal representative going to go against the court system and his society of these statutes and charges that he has a duty to uphold within his society, because it's all part of his society? Or is he going to do his best, put up a good show, put up a good fight, but ultimately Dankula's going to be found guilty anyway, because they're not going to listen to him anyway. All the lovely things that you hear in court, it's all essentially a performance, it's an act. They're going to find him guilty because they're going to go on the literal meaning of what he said, and alas, he's going to get sent to prison. I'll be surprised if he doesn't. He might get a suspended sentence, but we'll see. The best thing about this is if you ever find yourself at odds with policy or statutes, I mean, I'm surprised more people don't do what I did. And I went down a big long rabbit hole of learning the law, thankfully through Carl Lentz's methodology, you know, his wise words, having gone through it all himself, and just helping you distinguish certain terms and phrases, person versus the man, you know, law versus legal, how the court system works, duties of court people, duties of the government, duties of the people, duties of citizens, you know, all these things you need to get your head round. It takes a long time, a lot of listening, a lot of studying, you know. But once you get it, you kind of see the game. You kind of see the joke. It is a joke. It's hilarious. It's hilarious what's going on here. But yeah, I mean, I wish Dankula all the best, but alas, my attempts to contact him have been in vain. So at least now, for as a permanent record, this will be on the internet for people to look at and review.